Hey, you guys like that? You guys like it when I throw together a little effort? Put a little effort in these videos? Yeah, I don't put effort in these videos very often, but anyway, we have a very special episode of Toy ARVN Review today because I have finally finished my Vietnamese War series. So, I collected all 7 sets they have on the Vietnam War, unless there's one that I just do not know about, which I highly doubt, because this one right here I didn't know about until recently, but I got all of them, and I'm finally done getting them all. So, I would recommend, if you're going to collect Mars, to start with this series. This one, all of the American series, and the one Secret Surprise set that we're going to be looking at right after these 3. Because this is probably one of the smaller series. Like, there's 7 sets here. Like, let's say you start with World War II. Well, they probably have 25 sets of World War II stuff. $30 each. These each retail at about $30. Like, you're looking at seeking a lot of dough. Are you a baker? Because that's a lot of dough. So, but here we got 7, and I bought these over the span of many months. My last video on the Mars Vietnam figures, which were the American figures after I finished collecting their American Vietnam figures. It took me like a month to get all of those. I just had to space out buying them. But anyway, we're going to start like I'm doing right now. We're just going to look at these figures. I'm probably not going to talk too much about them because you guys know. I will say, though, talking about the quality of the figures, I think, because we just looked at the Night Hunters, and the Night Hunters were beautifully sculpted, very high quality, great plastic, which these are too, but you can tell the detailing with these, it just isn't as solid with that other set we looked at. So this leaves me to believe that these sets are a lot older. Like, Mars produced these when they first, like, maybe got into business, I'm not sure. So over time, they've just kind of perfected the art of toy soldier making, because we don't get such great detail. The faces are a little blotchy, but still, this one right here is perhaps my favorite figure, though, in this first set we're looking at, which this one is the Viet Cong heavy weapons set. And the reason it's called heavy weapons, well, we looked at this guy because he had the big machine gun, which I can't remember the name of. Yeah, it looks like a Type 99, but I know for sure that's not correct. But we also get these two. We have a guy who's sitting and a guy who's laying down, and they both have machine guns. I haven't put them together. They're still in the bag. They're still in the bag in the little diorama as well. I forgot to put them together. But anyway, got a guy throwing a grenade. They also have some older World War II weapons. The Soviet Union supplied North Vietnam with a lot of their old Second World War stock. And we got another guy with a rifle. I'm not sure what rifle that is. Looks like a Mosin Nagant. Again, old World War II Soviet stock. So, out of these 3, I think this next one's my favorite. We have the NVA, North Vietnamese Army set. So this was the actual North Vietnamese military. These other 2 sets are based off the Viet Cong, aka the National Liberation Front, which every resistance in history has been named the National Liberation Front. This is one of my favorites out of this set. I just love the way this guy looks. But here we have a guy with an RPD. I know that because of Call of Duty, Black Ops. Very cool. So these figures are also great. A great addition to your tan or brown army. In fact, I think I have enough brown figures at this point that I could just have my own brown army. I keep my brown stuff with the tan. And what's really cool is that we got a lot of women mixed in here too. We have one over in this last set. I'll pull her out. And it looks like she has what looks to be a mix of a PPSH and a grease gun. A PPSH with a regular banana magazine. But yeah, that's because in a lot of communist countries, equality is a huge belief over there, especially in warfare. The Soviet Union was notorious for having women in their ranks along with the men, not just roles that were traditional for women at the time, like nursing and stuff, but also like actually on the front lines, especially in snipers, or the night witches, if you know anything about them in World War II. Got this guy who's shouting at the top of his lungs. while stepping on a water buffalo skull. This is what I look like when traffic's bad in the morning. But what's really interesting is we get two of these guys who are kind of propped up on something, like they're in a propaganda poster. Yeah, they look like a propaganda poster. I think it's a little unnecessary to have two of these guys. They look pretty interchangeable other than the helmet for the most part. And what they're standing on, that guy is a water buffalo, this guy, tree stump. So I just think that's a little redundant. I think we could have gotten maybe another kind of figure. But anyway, and we got this cool looking guy with the RPG slung over his shoulder. Looks like he's marching down the Ho Chi Minh Trail, ready to give Uncle Sam the 1-2 skiddly-doo. You go, buddy. I wish I could give Uncle Sam the 1-2 skiddly-doo. And we have this gentleman who has a bayonet prime. Looks like he's waiting for an American GI to stroll down the road so he can jump out of his spider hole and get him. So yeah, that's the NVA, and the last figure, who you could call the commander of all three of these, is an NVA officer. He looks like he has a Makarov pistol, a pair of binoculars, of course. He can't be an officer that has binoculars. And again, this middle set, out of these three, actually no, the next set has the best detailing. I was going to say these had the best detailing, but no, I think this next one does. I think, in fact, the way they're arranged from first to last, the detailing improves over all of them. So we got this guy right here with an AK-47 that looks like it is missing its stock, which is really interesting. It could be an AK-74U, but to me that looks like a regular old Kalashnikov, judging by the muzzle. And we got another guy with this interesting looking PPSH grease gun combination here. Again, really interesting. He looks like he has a stick grenade too, a good old potato masher. But I love these figures here a lot. I just really like how casual they look. And these are in forest green. I did some digging and I found that you could actually find this last set, in blue as well. In fact, when I got it, I thought it would be blue. I was kind of hoping for blue because I'd really like to have more figures for my blue army. But unfortunately, no. But still, green's a great color for Army men. And these look really good in forest green and in the blue. Got a guy, looks like he has an Alice pack, AK-47, just marching his way down the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And perhaps my favorite in this set is this guy with the RPD slung against his shoulder. Just absolutely looking like a beast. Really, really cool. We got through these really fast. I was expecting this video to be a lot longer, but we have another set to look at right after these, so who knows. And we have this young lady. Looks like she also has a Mosin rifle. She has her hat thrown across her back. So, the NLF, the National Liberation Front, or the Viet Cong, was mostly recruited from South Vietnam. They were the South Vietnamese citizens who were really sick of foreign involvement in their country. I got really into Vietnam last year. I read the novelization of the Ken Burns documentary, and it was really good. If you want a really good objective overview of the Vietnam War, definitely read that book. So essentially, Vietnam spent most of its time, most of its life as a country just under our attempts to be occupied by foreign powers. And they just repelled them over and over and over again. For like 1,000 years, China kept trying to come in. I think the Qing dynasty kept trying to take them over. I could be wrong. It may not be the Qing dynasty. And then in World War II, of course, the Japanese invaded Vietnam, and they kicked the French out because the French were already there occupying them. Really, only the Japanese and the French have been able to occupy them, but both of them had hard times. And the NLF actually came around during World War II, and they were led by Ho Chi Minh, who would later become the de facto communist dictator of North Vietnam. And Ho Chi Minh, it was called the Viet Minh at first, because Ho Chi Minh was the leader, and they were able to help kick the Japanese out. Just please, more stuff, just fall over. And anyway, I'm going to keep rambling. And then after World War II, the French came back, of course, and, well, the Vietnamese kind of got a taste of freedom for a little while between that period where the Japanese and the French were not there. So when the French came back, it was just kind of more asinine. So, of course, the First Indochina War began, and I believe it's the first Indochina War. I could be wrong. I think the one with America is the second Indochina War. But anyway, again, it could be wrong. I'm not an expert. However, and they fought a long, nasty war with the French, and finally they were able to beat the French at Dien Bien Phu, which was a valley, and at the bottom of this valley, the French had pretty much all of their troops. They had camps, trenches, and on the hillsides next to that valley, the North Vietnamese, or well, I guess the Vietnamese at this time, they were all working together, had spent weeks getting munitions, artillery guns, just on the sides above the French. So they had the high ground, Anakin, and they just started bombarding the French, just absolutely ducking on them, and eventually it forced the French to capitulate and give Vietnam their independence. And then, of course, as we know, in the 1960s, after John F. Kennedy was assassinated, Lyndon B. Johnson began sending American troops into Vietnam. We had already been sending weapons and advisors to South Vietnam because North and South Vietnam ended up going to war. One was communist, the other was capitalist democracy. So, of course, we propped up the capitalist democracy because that's like us. Arguably, at the time, we were democratic. But anyway, politics aside, and then we were in Vietnam for years and years and years. It was one of the longest. In fact, I think the only war that's been as long, if not longer, was our involvement in Afghanistan quite recently. So that's a rundown of Vietnam. And then after we left in the 70s, after we finally pulled out under the Ford administration, yeah, the Gerald Ford administration, well, China tried to invade. And then China had their own Vietnam War in Vietnam for a few years. And while that was going on, Cambodia was falling apart. So Vietnam sent soldiers to Cambodia, and they had their own Vietnam War in Cambodia, where they had to suffer through a lot of what American, French, Japanese, and all the other soldiers who invaded their country went through. So it's like full circle. It's kind of crazy, because if you know anything about Cambodia in the 70s and 80s, Pol Pot, millions of people killed, don't wear glasses around the wrong people, etc., etc. So these are the three North Vietnam Communist Vietnam sets, and definitely pick these up. I got the American ones first, but that's just because I liked them better. They went better with my other regular old Army men, but still, these three sets are great. Definitely pick them up. No one left standing. And finally, the secret surprise set I was talking about was this one, the ARVN South Vietnamese Soldier Set. So, this set is also really cool, goes very well with the American set, and although it's a little bit weaker than the others, admittedly. So a little bit about the ARVN. They were the South Vietnamese military, and they were mostly trained by United States advisors, and they were mostly equipped with old equipment from the Second World War. Like, this guy's a Browning. That last guy had a BAR, Browning automatic rifle, which was still in service at the time for the U.S. Army. But we were giving them a lot of our older Second World War stock. Got this guy right here. Looks like he has a revolver. Very reminiscent of the guy who got his brains blown out during the Tet Offensive, if you know what I'm talking about. It looks like he has a shotgun, maybe a Remington right here. I love how Mars incorporates shotguns and more specific weapons. Like most Army sets, they just have automated weapons and nothing more. Let me get some hairs out of the frame. And here's our officer. It looks like he has a 1911. Of course, he's pointing. They either have binoculars or they're pointing you in a direction when it comes to Army men, or they're knocking over boxes and revealing all the crap on the table. We got this guy throwing a grenade. It looks like he has a thumper, a blooper, or the M208, I believe it's called. And we have another guy pointing. So, two guys pointing. It looks like his helmet's kind of a little too big for him, which, if you really think about it, is accurate, because Vietnamese people, or a lot of Asian peoples, are a little smaller than other races, just the way they're built, their diets, and a lot of stuff goes into that. So for this equipment to maybe not fit them as well is kind of accurate. Like there's a photo of a North Korean soldier, a South Korean soldier, an American soldier all standing next to each other, and the South Korean and American are just towering over the North Korean guy. But anyway, so you might have noticed a couple of these figures were not standing up properly, and that's because on the bottom we still have some leftover plastic from the mold machine, which it happens. You can just take a knife, slice that right off. It's not a big deal. But this guy looks like a heavy weapons guy. He has a rocket launcher on his back, an ammo can. Looks like he's rushing more munitions to the front. Very cool. Probably my favorite of this whole set is this guy right here. Looks like he's running out of a helicopter trying to hold his hat down while a Huey blows over his head. So, really, really cool. Another really cool set. I got this one before I got the other 3 Vietnam sets. Mostly just to go with my Americans. And I don't have a whole lot to say about them, but they're still really cool. And if you want to finish off your American series, I'd actually recommend getting this one last. Really, they're just not as cool to me, but still, they're still a really cool set. That's just me personally. But anyway, guys, I'm not going to do my regular outro like I normally do, just because I didn't want this video to be too long, and I wanted to incorporate the diorama. So, make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you go to the live stream that will be happening after this video. So I live stream Minecraft, or I might start doing some other games here soon. So make sure you go check that out. We have a lot of fun playing games. I just talk and answer questions with y'all. And also make sure you check out our subreddit, Plastic Toy Dudes. So again, guys, thanks for watching the video. I'm the Plastic Commander. Bye.
Mission accomplished. Well done, man. Pack it up. We're going home.